And welcome back to another episode of the Drunken Cryptids. I'm your host, Matthew Orton. And of course, I do want to thank Blade Media for doing the hard work on the website and the logo. Thank you, Dylan. I appreciate all the hard work you've done. It looks amazing. Y'all check out his work. He does a great job. He is local here in Arkansas. And you check out his website at blademedia.com, BLAYED media.com. And of course, special shout out to the team behind me. Appreciate everything you guys have done, everything you guys are doing, and the further adventures that we're going to be going on. So thank you guys. It means a lot to me. I appreciate it. Definitely. And of course, events coming up. We do have the Ohio Bigfoot Jamboree in Ada, Ohio, October 4th. I will be a speaker there in the family tent. So definitely, if you're in the Ohio area for that weekend, come out, check it out. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's put on by our good friends at Cryptids, Justin and Jay. Great guys. There'll be other podcasters there as well. Nevermore Hollows is going to be there. You're going to see Miss Monsters of Bullets are going to be there. And, of course, Chumming with the Spirits are going to be there as well. Plus, some previous guests are going to be there as well. Timothy Wainwright, who does the awesome artwork, he's going to be there. So there's going to be a lot of neat activities going on. But, yep, they get a chance to speak there. Also, we're going to be at the Arkansas Paranormal Expo on October 25th and 26th of this year. So definitely come and check us out. All the links for everything will be posted in the show notes. And, of course, if you guys want to keep supporting the show, I tell you right now, we do have a Patreon set up. The links will be posted in the notes as well. So whatever tier works for you, great. It helps support the show, helps support a lot of things. So, hey, whatever you want to donate, whatever helps. I appreciate it all, definitely. I will tell you, though, for the Patreon members coming forward, we are putting together plans to go on to some wonderful expeditions and investigations, and Patreon members will have a chance to go on some of those with us. So, just kind of letting y'all know that up front. But let's talk a little bit about what's the fascination sometimes with, like UFOs and black-eyed children, funny lights in the skies, things that go bump in the night. Our tonight's guest, Larry Buchanan, is also known as Chumming. He has a very colorful past, and what I mean colorful is lots of paranormal and cryptid encounters. He is a vaccine research scientist who does live in Kansas. He has a degree in biology within Kansas State University, and he's been a paranormal researcher for 15 years. And again, he has a huge fascination with this stuff due to a lot of the encounters that he's had, and we're going to get ready to jump into those. He does dabble in photography, writing, artwork on the side. So he's got a very good mindset and creative. And the cool thing is he has a degree in biology. So he's not going to be somebody that's just going to attack any of these subjects with a broad stroke. He's going to go in with a fine brush. He's going to go in with a fine pen, and he's going to try and work the details out and dig in and see what's going on. I know that for some of the stuff that we have caught, we have sent it to him and his partner JD over there, and they've given us their opinion, and vice versa. They've done the same thing with us. So getting a chance to sit down with Larry was a lot of fun, and this interview is a long one, and it could have gone a lot longer. It really could have. But so we had to cut it short. And Larry will be back as soon as, we get the tavern and everything moved, and he will be back for part 2. So sit back, relax. It's showtime.
Was these two globes. I don't know how to describe them. And I stood up there and looked at them, and it's like,
I just couldn't hold it anymore, and I was like, oh my gosh, I was a chupacabra. I was so excited.
They were referring to Bigfoot.
There are voices in the darkness. The reason why the show is called Drunken.
Hey everybody, welcome back. I have a great guest coming on this evening for us. I have Larry from Chumming with the Spirits. Great podcast, you guys. You guys have already heard the interview with JD at this point. So now I got Larry coming on, and Larry's going to share his encounters with us. He's going to share his experiences, how he got involved with the group, how he got involved in the podcasting, is what's really been inspiring him to go out and chase things that most people are saying that doesn't really exist. And the cool thing is that he's full of information, full of knowledge. He's a very well-educated man. He's a very well-read man. So sit back, and in the spirit of their show, grab your favorite drink. And Larry, welcome to the Drunken Cryptids.
Hey, how's it going, Matt?
Great, brother. I'm so grateful that you came on, man. Thank you very much for coming tonight and hanging out with me.
Absolutely.
Well, so in the spirit of y'all show, like how I did that spirit. So in the spirit of y'all show, y'all always start your show off with naming what y'all are drinking, right?
Yep.
All right, so I have a Yingling here in front of me, but I have an Irish coffee that I'm drinking right now.
Nice.
So
I am drinking Ballatin brand chocolate toffee whiskey, and it is phenomenal.
that sounds like that'd be good in my coffee.
It's really good.
Are you drinking it straight on ice, or what you doing?
Just neat, straight.
As it should be. I mean, that sounds like something I would put in my coffee. I'm not gonna lie. I'm like, let me sweeten the coffee up a little bit.
Yeah, I've actually tried it. They have a different flavor, that company, that's hard to find, and it's even better. And it's a chocolate mint, and it tastes like a thin mint cookie mixed with whiskey.
See, I would get in trouble with that.
Find.
Yeah, I'd get in trouble with that.
Yeah.
I would. Well, Larry, real quick, tell everybody just a little bit about you and how you got involved, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name's Larry Buchanan. I go by the moniker of Parachum on Chumming with the Spirits, and there's a whole little story behind that we can talk about here in a minute if you want to.
Of course.
I have lived in a lot of places throughout the United States because my dad moved us around a lot. Was born in Norfolk, Virginia. Lived in Coatesville, Pennsylvania, Ellenwood, Kansas, which we are going out to this weekend for a phenomenal Paracon. Paola, Kansas is where I went to high school, and then I eventually went to the Kansas State University in Manhattan, Kansas.
I know that place quite well.
Yeah, phenomenal school. I get a lot of crap about it because it's not KU, but KU sucks. I'm just joking. My entire family went there. I studied biology, and I was one class short of getting my degree in microbiology, but they didn't offer that for like another year because certain classes are only held in the fall of each year. And I was like, I don't want to wait another 2 semesters to graduate. So I just ended up graduating with a Bachelor of Science in Biology, which is just a title. Most of the classes that I took in college were microbiology and immunology, and have been working in that field ever since. I graduated in 2009 in May, and I've been working in microbiology, immunology, virology, developing tests and vaccines for animals. So I love what I do. It's one of the perks of the job that I actually found a job in my degree, because not many people nowadays can say that. And yeah, that's a little bit of background on my, I guess you say, professional level of accreditation. But as far as the paranormal, it's been in my life since I was a little kid. I mean, I was born in 1984. You know what movie was popular in 1984?
Yes, I do.
Ghostbusters.
Who are you going to call?
And I fell in love with all that stuff. And I remember being in college, and my favorite show before Ghost Hunters and all that stuff came out was I think it was on MTV, if I'm not mistaken. It was called the Paranormal Celebrity something, where they would take celebrities to a haunted location, and then they had tasks that they had to do, where they would have to go out by themselves or whatnot. And I fell in love with it. And when I graduated college, I was getting antsy. So I wanted to go out and do paranormal investigations. So I got on Craigslist back when that was popular, And no, not for the reason people think.
Yeah, I know. I know. I may tease you about that, but yeah.
And I found our friend Jason, who I don't think you've had the pleasure of meeting yet. I think you would love him.
So I'm going to pause here real quick. So Jason, this is the guy that he had a group, and he goes camping all the time.
Yes.
Okay, so I want to say that because you guys did like a couple of episodes together with him, and so I want my audience to be able to jump over and listen to it. But he sounds like a great guy.
Amazing guy. He's actually a what do we call it? A kind of a person that whenever he wants and we're filming, he just comes over and not like a guest, but he'll just be part of the discussion.
I like it.
I'm trying to think of the term that he came up with, and I can't off the top of my head. But yeah, he's super huge into it's called bushcrafting, where you basically just go out into the wilderness, hike, and live off of what you have. He actually holds bushcrafting events for people that teaches them how to do certain things and how to get along in the wilderness, and he'll go on like midnight hikes. I can't do that because I have problems seeing at night, but he goes out without a flashlight and he can see perfectly. It's amazing. But yeah, I think you would really love him.
Yeah, I can't wait to meet him when I come up there.
Yeah, he's actually putting on the Paracon KC in August. He's the one that holds that.
Well, I've got a busy schedule for August. I had to kind of keep that cleared, and then get ready to close this house here soon to get ready to relocate and start the Drunken Cryptids and everything, and a huge step for me coming up. So once I get past these next 3 months, yeah, it's the field is wide open, and y'all are gonna y'all are gonna be seeing me. I may bring my buddy Vince up there, who's
Sweet.
never had a paranormal encounter. He's always believed in the paranormal. He went and stayed at the Crescent Hotel and never had an encounter. He's like, everybody has encounters at the Crescent, but me. I was like, all right, let's So I threw the invite at him this past weekend. I was like, hey, do you want to go to KC with me and go on a ghost hunt? He's like, yeah, man. Yeah, I got family. He's like, yeah, I got family up there. Yeah, I'll just make an excuse. We'll see them and go ghost hunting. He's like, yeah, let's do it. He's like, all right, I'm in. So
I think yeah, you definitely need to bring him because when you do come up and meet Jason, he'll have a story on that perception because he had a friend from childhood who passed away a couple of years ago. The same thing, would go on ghost hunts and investigations with us all the time, and he never had a personal experience, but Jason would always put him in a room with a voice recorder, and the thing would light up. Even though he had no personal experiences, there would be all kinds of EVPs. So I think there's something to that.
there might be actually. It'd be a fun experiment to run, and Vince would be down for it. I know he would be.
Yeah, I think it would be fascinating to try that.
Yeah, I agree. 100% agree. So so microbiology. So what fascinated you with microbiology? So before getting into all the paranormal stuff, you guys, I'm establishing the fact of the matter that for anybody to jump in and research and study microbiology and to do what Larry's doing takes a lot of self-discipline and a lot of mental discipline as well. Lots of studying, lots of research, lots of note taking. There's a lot that goes into this stuff. And so with people with these kind of degrees, i.e. like, Justin from Cryptids of the Corn, when they go in and research this stuff, they know how to do the research, and they're going to go, when they go to the field, they know how to go to the field and take notes and break it down into a way that fits. And unfortunately, though, for the paranormal, it doesn't fit. Every ghost hunt, every expedition I've gone on, something different's happened every time, and what an idea that you had before is gone. And it's like, okay, well, that didn't work, and that threw my theory out on that one. But so what honestly brought you to microbiology?
So when I graduated high school, my family wanted me more than anything to go to KU. So I went to KU for a year, and I hated it. I'll be honest, I didn't go to class. I failed out because I didn't want to be there to begin with. I didn't really know what my path was. Um, so I ended up coming back to Kansas City and getting a job as a pharmacy technician. And over the course of the next 2 years working in the pharmacy, I had a fascination with learning everything there was about the drugs. I liked to look at the chemical formulas, the structures of the drugs themselves, because I found them interesting. So I ended up applying to my one of my friends was going to K-State in the fall, and he's like, "Hey, apply, come hang out with us." And I was looking at some of the programs that they offered, and I saw microbiology, and I was like, "Hey, why not?" Ended up getting accepted, went, and my first class just it blew me away. It opened up my mind. It was like learning about another world inside of ourselves, and I think that's what fascinated me, was that there's so much going on at a smaller level that we don't even realize, and it is literally like another world is taking place inside living organisms, and I just fell in love with it.
That is awesome. No, seriously, that is awesome. That make well, I get so that I mean I can see that, and then if you compare microbiology into the paranormal,
Yeah,
they kind of go hand in hand in some ways.
they do. Yeah, I mean it's like studying another culture, another dimension of entities, because we can't perceive them unless we have special equipment, but it's completely different than our perception of the world that we live in with our own eyes. I'm probably not explaining this very well.
No, I'm picking it up. I'm and I have a smart audience. I really do, and they're smart people, so I know they're listening to you. Go, okay, that makes sense, because you can't see with the naked eye, and the same thing with a lot of the paranormal. And sometimes it does manifest itself out, and sometimes the same thing with microbiology manifests itself out into a disease or something like that we're visibly able to see with our eye.
Exactly.
So so if you kind of compare the two in that aspect, I think yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good breakdown of it. So all right, so you link up with you said Jason, right?
Yep.
Okay, so link up with Jason on Craigslist, and were you just want to have like did you? Now you said that you had paranormal as a kid.
Yes. So
let's talk. Let's talk about the beginnings of Larry's introduction into the paranormal world.
Okay. So as a kid, the first place that I really ever remember living was Coatesville, Pennsylvania, and we owned a house on a cul-de-sac that's backyard butted up against the VA hospital, which is a beautiful old hospital out there in Pennsylvania. But our backyard was kind of special because my dad would find headstones from back in the day while he was mowing grass or clearing stuff from the wooded area next to us. I don't remember personally experiences from that house because I was so young, but I think I had them because my sister, who's 10 years older than I am, tells me crazy stories of things that happened there. A couple of them were, she said that I would always be up in my room talking and playing with someone that wasn't there. I don't remember this because I was young. Again, our rooms were right across the hall from each other, and she said it was almost on a nightly basis that she would wake up and see me standing in her doorway watching her sleep, and she would get really upset and say, "Hey, Junior, go back to bed," because that's what I went by. My dad has the same name as I do. And she would, yell at me, Junior, go back to bed, and then finally get upset enough that she would get out of bed, walk over, grab my hand, and walk me back to my bedroom. And as she got to the doorway of my bedroom, she would see me already asleep in bed, and the kid's hand that she was holding would no longer be there.
Whoa.
She said that happened, probably 3 or 4 times a week.
Really?
And it looked just like me. So, again, I can't corroborate because it didn't happen to me. I don't remember any of it.
But I mean, it's your sister. I mean, would she have any reason to lie about that, or?
No. She actually told me another crazy story that she had friends over one time and they were down in the basement watching TV, and this is the 80s. We had those circular saw wheels on the wall that had like hand painted scenes and stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And she said one time they were down there, the saws started to shake on the wall, and one of them came off the wall and flew across the room at them.
Well, that's got poltergeist written all over it.
Yeah, again, I don't know because I didn't experience it. It didn't happen to me. Stuff like that may have happened. I just don't remember it.
Yeah, well, I get that part because my little sister, we lived in a haunted house. This was like my my third introduction to the paranormal as a kid. And, I was going to kindergarten at the time. Mm-hmm. That tells you how young I was. But, my little sister, this thing attacked her with a pillow one night. I mean, it was literally, this pillow was like in midair by itself and just coming down on my sister's head like, a pillow fight.
Dang.
And, I'd seen it because we were watching a show, and all I remember was it had the Amazon River in it, and there was like a steamboat in it. And I don't think it was a steamboat movie, I don't think it was that one. But it was something to do, and my mom and stepdad were on the couch, and I was on the floor. And I asked if I could make me some chocolate milk, and I said yes. And I had to walk by her room, and her lights were turning off and on, and the pillow was coming down, and I was like, yeah, it's not my problem. And maybe my chocolate. Yep, maybe my chocolate milk, the old powderiness, quick kind, and walked back, and it was still doing it. And I was like, nope, not my problem. And
I wouldn't have even told my parents. I was just going to on her.
I didn't. I just sat right down in front of the TV, like I didn't see nothing. And as soon as I sat down, she started screaming, and my mom and dad rushed into the room, and they yelled for me, and they're yelling at me because she's like, Matt was beating me with my pillow, and I'm crying, kindergarten, I'm crying. It wasn't me, it was by itself, and so, yeah, as, we're all arguing in the room about me not hitting her in the head with the pillow, the light turned off.
Yeah, that sounds like me and my sister.
And then the light, then my dad turned around, turned the light back on, and so we played this game with the light switch for a little bit, and then, we all slept in the living room that night. But yeah, that's another story. So I get where, you're coming from. My little sister has no memory of this. Like she had an invisible friend as well. She has no memory of that. And I'm going, I'm only a couple years older than her. And I'm like, you did. It was really kind of weird.
Well, I think the weird thing is that my sister said that it looked, so she thought it was me, which is, in my opinion, that's either even more stronger of a presence or something really weird was going on.
I'm going to go with something really weird going on.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been one of the kids that was buried in the backyard or the woods back there. Who knows?
Well, let me ask you this. You've done a lot of paranormal investigating and stuff since you brought up kids, okay? Yeah. And I have a theory on ghost kids where I don't think they're real. And, and a lot of that falls on my, my faith in God. That, I don't believe that God's going to leave a kid behind. Does that make sense? Yeah,
no, that makes total sense, yeah.
And so I wonder if instead of it being one of the kids, maybe it was another entity trying to put on your persona to maybe lure your sister away. Or to even lure you or something like, you know what I mean?
That's kind of how I look at it.
So I was kind of curious what your take was on Kid Ghost with you going out and doing this research.
It's weird because that's a really good question. Dang.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hit you with the hard ones, right?
I I totally get that. Why would God want something like that to take place for a child? Um, I think that when it comes to ghost children, I would tend to go the route that you're going, where it's something else that's going on. So let me preface this. Our perceptions are completely unique as a human species. And when I say unique, each person's is unique. So our brains are wired a certain way that from the moment we're born, everything that happens to us and we experience, our minds and our brain are creating a database for uh, acknowledgement of future incidents. So when I say that, everything that's happened in my life may allow me to perceive something differently than you experience it. So if we're told that a place is haunted and this room is the most haunted in the place, you and I go into the room and we both have an encounter at the same time and we see something. I may have said, I saw a kid in the corner, but you may say, no, I saw a woman in a white dress. It's all based on how our mind is analyzing what's happening in the moment and putting a what do you call it, a stigma on what we're seeing based on what we know.
Well, I'm gonna interject real quick because one, I agree 100% on what you just said, and the reason why is because my first paranormal encounter was with my mom, and it was a shadow person that we saw. It come floating out of the kitchen. It was this tiny apartment that my mom had at the time when she was dating my stepdad. It floated out of the kitchen, and it went into the bathroom. Came out of the bathroom, went into my room. Came out of my room, and it went into my mom's room where my little sister was in like a little crib, little baby bed kind of thing. And my mom, jumped up and bolted. Now, me and my mom will tell the same story of this all the way until we get to the description of it.
Yep.
And, it was we both agree it was wearing a hat, but we disagree on what kind of hat it was.
Yeah. It's a huge thing in the paranormal. That's why
I look at it as like, I remember having like a top hat and a cape, and she remembers it having like kind of like a paddy hat kind of thing.
And that's why I have a hard time when people say that a place is haunted by this person because that's what they see. That doesn't say that that's what it was that you saw, unless you get a clear EVP that you can match vocal patterns to something that's been recorded from that person saying, hey, my name's Larry Buchanan, I'm the ghost tonight, welcome to my house.
I'm not gonna lie, if that was to ever happen, I would probably stop right in the middle of everything and go, oh, Larry, have a seat, man, what are you drinking?
Exactly, right? But if people pick up EVPs and they say, oh, it's a little kid, so it must have been Connor, the little kid that passed away on this property, 100 years ago, you can't associate that with that person. Does that make sense?
Well, 100%, because now the thing about it is I think that for a lot of the TV shows, though, this is, and I don't want to bash every show that's out there. I really don't. I mean, only one. I'm not going to mention that you just touched me. But the thing is, is it, you're right. Is, they're like, okay, well, this house was, built in, 1795. And the family was all tragic, and there were so many deaths involved with it. And they had people come in and go, yeah, there's a little voice. Connor, is that you? Like you just said, Connor, know? And, and if it is a smart entity, it's going to go, yeah, what's up? Yeah, keep talking, And it's going to project what you already perceiving it to be. I think that's more dangerous than anything else.
I agree. And I'll throw it even one further on you on this one.
Oh, please do.
So there's a place up here in Kansas City that doesn't allow paranormal investigations anymore, which is a real bummer because that place was chock full of experiences. One of our friends, Rick, who I was in a group with for a while, we're down in a room in a basement, and I had an audio recorder going, and we were talking, and all of a sudden my legs started to burn. Like I don't know how to explain it. Just like it just got hot and scratchy. And I say it, and it's hard to explain because it was so freaky. I say, "Hey, my leg's starting to burn," and you hear me again say, "Yeah, it burns right here." But
Whoa.
I didn't say that. But it sounded just like me. We actually turned that audio clip in, which I can send you if you want.
Please do.
The audio, I guess, forensics person, I don't know what they're called, analyzed it and said, yes, it's a human vocal pattern, but it doesn't match either of your vocal patterns. He's like, there was another person in that room that wasn't in that room. So it just goes to show you that you can catch something that sounds like you audio-wise, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's you. So when people catch stuff on audio that someone says, oh, this sounds like Elvis, unless you match that up to a recording of that person while they were alive to see if their vocal fingerprints match, you can't honestly say that I caught an EVP of Elvis. I just find that fascinating.
No, that's beyond fascinating, and I'm 100% with you on that one. And again, I am going to go back to the whole entire to where, the field that we do, because I mean, you guys do a lot of mainly paranormal, and I jump back and forth from cryptids to paranormal. So when you're doing this stuff, we are a joke. We are made fun of a lot, which is fine, and I don't care. I can take a joke.
And I hate to say it's a lot to do with the TV shows.
As I was about to say, you cannot turn on, any of the main, channels of this and not see a show of it.
Yeah, it's very true.
And it's, and one, they're never going to find anything. And the reason why they're never going to find anything is because if they do start finding stuff, I'm not going to mention Oak Island. If they start finding stuff, then the season's over and they're not going to make any money off of the show.
Yeah, I know.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, not to mention Oak Island, but it's been going on for 12 years now. It seems like. The thing is, though, is with these shows, and they do that, and I think they put out a lot of misinformation out there.
They do,
and I'll be honest with you. One, I'm not going to use a Ouija board. I'm not going to do the S's experiment. The S's experiment. I'm not going to do that at all. Where I'm going to open myself up to something to communicate through me. That's not going to happen. And so what it is when they put this information out there, and they're putting misinformation out there, it's you're going to have amateurs who will be like, oh well, I'll use my daughter. My daughter, who's 11, for example, loves the paranormal stuff, and I don't know where she gets it from, and she wanted to do last year for her birthday. She wanted to do an episode on the Crescent Hotel. And I was like, okay, what do you know about the Crescent? And 15 minutes later, I was like, okay, let's do an episode. It'd be kind of a fun episode. Let her talk about, a passion of hers. So, and while we were talking, she goes out, well, I like to do the S's experiment. I was like, so what is that? And I'd never heard of this until I looked it up and went, absolutely not. I am not going to allow myself to be, that's just another physical version, I think, of using the Ouija board because,
it is. Yeah, you're using yourself as a conduit. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. I think we can find other ways of finding these ghosts other than trying to open ourselves up to it. And they do that, and that's the funny part too. And you do watch the shows, and I'm going, well, you can touch me, you can do this. As soon as they get touched, they start screaming and freaking out. Did you just touch me? I mean, the ghosts have got to be annoyed. Dude, you wanted me to. I mean, what's up?
Yeah, I mean, I'll admit, I've done it on investigations like, hey, you have my permission to come up and touch me to let me know you're here. When that happens, you rethink saying that.
Okay, so I've been touched. In all honesty, I have been touched. I know of for sure twice, and it wasn't on an investigation. So the night before you got here for the live show, that Friday night, we went. I took JD, Justin, Jay, Jacob, a buddy of mine. John met us down there at Four Quarter, and it's the most haunted location in Central Arkansas. And I got touched down there. And, of course, everybody laughs, yeah, because I was in the bathroom using the urinal. And the only thing in the bathroom is a toilet seat and the urinal and a sink. And it's got, the toilet, that's obviously got the little wall divider with the door on it. And that's against the wall. And then the urinal's in the middle, then the sink. It's a small bathroom. And there was nobody there. I was in there. The door was wide open to the toilet. I'm at the urinal. And I'd already heard it was haunted. I was like, all right, man, if there's something here, man, let me know that you're here. I didn't say touch me. I said, let me know that you're here.
Yeah.
And in the chrome piping of the urinal, I saw somebody walk behind me. Like they were going to the door to walk out. And I turned my head. And as soon as I did that, I felt a touch right on the right side of my neck, like a finger tap. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And at that time, the light over the sink went out. The other light stayed on, but the light over the sink went out. And I went, you're here. And I finished up real quick and walked out the door. And then the other one was at the Birdcage Theater in Tombstone, Arizona, which was really cool because the show that we were not talking about, Did You Just Touch Me? They did an episode there. And I remember when we got there, I was like, oh, yeah, these idiots came and did an episode in this place. I was with my Army buddy, Rick, and so I'm not thinking one bit of anything paranormal, nothing at all. Is in the morning when they opened up, and you have to pay to go in and walk around. It's a really neat thing. They got like a whole bunch of antique stuff from when the movie took place with Wyatt Earp and everything, and you can walk up on stage, and then below the stage in the basement of it is where they have a museum set for the working girls that was present in Tombstone at the time. And as we were walking up the stage, I felt a hand on my right shoulder. It's always on my right shoulder, like a caress. And I stopped, and Rick was about 3 paces behind me. He hadn't started the stairs yet. And I turned and said, Dan, something just touched me. And he's like, what? I said, yeah, like a hand touched me. He's like, oh, they don't want you back here. I was like, no, that was not the touch that I got. That was a caressing touch. You know? And I tried, there was part of the curtain, for the show, the stage. Yeah. And it was about 5 feet from me, and I'm like walking all the way over there to try and get my shoulder into it. I was like, well, that definitely wasn't it, So, yeah, that was the 2 times I got touched, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I'm the weird one, though. I'm the guy, in the haunting locations or anything like that. I'm going to be like going, oh, cool. I'm going to be the first one dead. Here we go.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel, too, because the 2 touches that I could talk about real quick weren't necessarily pleasant. So, do you mind if I tell these stories?
This is your show, brother. We're going to go as long as you want to.
Awesome. So, the first time I ever truly felt something touch me that was more than just a tap or a caress, we were in the underground tunnels in Ellenwood, Kansas, and they had, so it was basically all the businesses that they didn't want people to see above ground or down below, like brothels, that kind of thing. And we were in the brothel / bathhouse, and I was sitting down on a wooden bench with my back against the stone wall, and it felt like 2 arms reached around me, locked hands, and hugged me and tried to pull me backwards through the wall. And it kind of freaked me out, I'm not going to lie.
That touch would have kind of freaked me out.
It gets better. So,
well, I'm going to pause real quick. What I find funny, too, though, is that, I'm a brave guy. I really am. In the little touches that I got, those are slight little touches. Talina went with us to a battlefield here locally. She met us out there. I thought it would be cool to record an episode and maybe go on a little ghost hunt. And she doesn't believe in any of this stuff at all. Mm-hmm. And she sent me a message. She goes, y'all still out there? And I was like, yeah, we're still out here. She goes, can I swing by? I was like, sure, come on by. She had a blatant hands across her back to where, she had tears in her eyes. It freaked her out. And
Yeah, it's unsettling. I'll admit that.
and I agree. It is unsettling. So when you say that scared me, and I'm listening to you telling me something's going to wrap its arms around me, yeah, I'm going to jump up and freak out.
Yeah, I did. I almost started to cry on camera because they're like, "It's all right," and I was like, "Screw you!"
It's like, no, it's not all right. It wasn't you.
Well, the fact that there was a wall behind me, so that was even freakier because something had to have come through the wall. And I'm a big guy. For something to wrap its arms completely around me and like feel like it interlocked hands, that's a big entity.
Well, first off, it came through the wall. I don't care what anybody says, how big you are or anything else like that. That was enough for me right there.
Yeah.
Because I love Bigfoot. I mean, I'm all about the cryptids. I am all about these unknown creatures and stuff like that. And the paranormal has always been right there that I've been fascinated with my whole entire life. So to me, this is great. This is awesome. Keep talking.
So fast forward a couple of years later, we're at a place called the Missouri State Penitentiary in Jefferson City, Missouri, which is known as the bloodiest 47 acres. It was a rough prison. My team members thought that, maybe if we kind of reenact something that they would have normally been witness to, that it might stir things up. So the thought was, let's handcuff Larry. So they handcuffed me with my hands in front of me, and let's walk him down to the basement death row and lock him in a cell and film it. And I was like, cool, whatever. Well, the whole time they're walking me down there, they're saying all this horrible stuff like, hey, we've got a child molester, raper, another one of you guys to have fun with. And I'm just sitting there going, God, it's not enough that you just handcuffed me, but you got to provoke it too. That's not cool.
Yeah, I don't think I would be doing that.
I was a little mad.
No, I think I would have been really mad.
So they get me in the cell, they close the door, and they're filming me behind the bars. And I have my flashlight in my hands, and my wrists are handcuffed, and they're down towards my crotch, right?
Yeah.
I felt something tug on my shorts, and you can see it in the video. And I jump and go, oh, no, and turn around. And the second that I turn around, my back's to the camera, it felt like something grabbed the collar of my sweater and tried to rip it over my head. And you can see the collar of my sweater lift up, halfway up my head, and then drop down. And I was like, hey, at that point, I was like, hey, I'm done. Get me the F out of here. I don't want to do this anymore.
That's, yeah.
I'll send you those two clips too, because I'd be curious to.
Yeah, you'd be okay with us airing those clips on the show?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I have
okay.
no problem with that.
Thank you.
A lot of people would say that, oh, hey, that's just you lifting your shoulders, but you can clearly see the collar of it coming up, and I felt it. Why would I say that happened if it didn't happen? It was startling. Other than that, I've been touched, brushed, felt like someone put their hand on me and that kind of thing, but those two instances really made me rethink that, things we can't see can possibly harm you if they have enough power or if they have enough will to get things done. So when you see or hear these experiences of, people lifting up and getting thrown against walls, I can absolutely see that happening.
No, I agree with you 100%. They can create enough energy somehow or another to where, if they're able to move an object, if they're able to touch, why wouldn't they be able to have enough to shove?
Well, and yeah, exactly. And it's, you can't say that it's a spirit or a ghost. who knows, something that we can't see because we don't have the perception interdimensionally or whatnot could have passed by and decided to screw with me or something. Like it could have been a physical presence that we don't have the capability of acknowledging.
No, and I think you're right, because we don't. I think that before, in the past, we were able to know these things, and I think it's kind of it's lost knowledge on us.
The more you know, the less you know.
Yeah, it's where I'm a big fan of technology. I mean, I don't know how to use my phone, but there's like a million things, and I'm happy I can make a phone call and text. But there's so. I mean, technology has gotten in the way of so many things right now. I think it's taken us away from nature. It's taken us away from the basics of life. And, and I do think about 150 years ago, we went through a reset, or we started a reset. If you look at photos of the World Fair that they were doing, all the World Fairs, and you look at some of the technology and the stuff that they were displaying there, this doesn't exist.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's a lot of theories on reset, paranormal. One specifically that something happened in, I think it was like the 80s, that the world ended, but a new timeline started, and everything that we knew shifted and changed. I can't remember the exact incident name.
Well, that could be tied in with the Mandela effect too, though.
Yeah, I want to say it was somewhere in Russia.
Everything's always involved in Russia.
I know, right? I'm fascinated with that.
Russia.
Hole to the center of the earth. They hear screams and all sorts of stuff out of.
Well, so my only problem with that is everything they said they sent down there melts. So how are they able to get a microphone down there without it melting?
Yeah, no, that's a very good point.
And on top of that too, though, so with the microphone going down there and the microphone and all that heat and starting to melt, it's going to make weird noises.
Is it really?
So
I don't know much about that kind of thing. So
it's going to. I mean, you're going to get squelch. It's going to be like, and you're going to hear what you want to hear.
That's true. That's a very good point. I never thought about it that way.
Well, my problem is this, and that's where my brain goes. I'm going to logically try and break it down before I actually go, yeah, that's kind of creepy. Like the whole fascinates me because, it's still burning because they thought it'd be a cool idea to, light it on fire. And so I know when you're talking about, but and I know they dropped the microphone down and they were hearing screams and everything. And I'm just like, well, everything was melting, was getting too hot because the pressure or whatnot. Maybe, that's what you were picking up. But it starts with a story. There's no recordings of it. Nobody's heard it.
Exactly.
And now, I mean, we could tie that in with the pass. Oh, it starts with a D.
The Dyatlov Pass.
The Dyatlov Pass.
That story.
That's one of my favorite ones too out of Russia. And honestly, that and the meteor that exploded over Siberia.
The Tunguska fireball
Yep.
that we talked about in our Tesla episode. Actually, that he actually thought that it was his fault.
Yes, as a matter of fact, that's why I wanted to hint on that just a little bit so people could go listen to your show. You like how I did that, didn't you?
Yeah, that was pretty smooth. That whole incident was nuts. I mean, when you look at the theories of the things that they try to explain it away as, and it doesn't make any logical sense.
The only thing I was with you on that one until the asteroid did explode again in Russia, ironic enough, and the shockwave shattered windows and stuff like that. And
but why aren't there impacts? Why aren't there burns?
Well, there wasn't any burns on that one either.
Yeah, that's so weird.
Oh yeah, space is weird.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's. I'll preface that, like, space terrifies me more than like the ocean. People are always like, well, the extremes of the ocean is so terrifying. Like, really? Have you ever looked at space?
Yeah.
Like,
as a kid, I wanted to be an astronaut. Then as I started growing up and, looking into it and realizing all the dangers and the risks and everything out there, it's like,
Yeah.
I'll just be a scuba diver. I'll take my chances with Jaws.
Yeah, I mean, well, with the ocean, at least you have an exit strategy. Like,
Kind of.
Kinda, you can get back to the surface, possibly.
Unless you're the millionaires and went to the Titanic last year.
Really?
You didn't hear about that? The submarine that imploded?
Yeah. No. Oh, yeah. The one that imploded.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the U.S. Navy heard it and kept their mouth shut for 5 days, letting this poor family struggle. And they had who puts a countdown timer on the news, counting down how much air they have? And the family's got to watch this. Who does
didn't hear
that?
about that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they actually had a countdown timer counting down at how much air these poor people had. I mean, they were dead already, unfortunately. But still, they had a countdown timer running on the news. Okay, they're down to 20 hours of air left, folks. Really?
That's horrible.
Yeah.
That's one of the most cruel things you can do to someone that's holding out for hope.
I was already done with the news at this point in time, and that was like the final nail in the coffin for me in the news. It really was. I was like, okay, I'm done with the media.
So let's segue on that a little bit. I want to get your opinion on something that happened in the news a couple of years ago. So I don't know if you remember, but I want to say it was like 4 or 5 years ago. It was during COVID. I remember that. All of these news, I mean, it was everywhere. It was on CNN. It was on everything about the aircraft, that one that went down in like the Great Lakes, one that went down in Alaska, and they were tracking it, and they went to go try to recover it. Do you remember all that stuff?
I do. Yep.
I have a hard time. I feel like that was a major misdirection from news outlets and the government trying to misdirect us from something, because I have a hard time that they were like, well, we're in the process of going to try to recover the craft or whatever it was. In my mind, I'm like, you dumb B words. If you knew about this and you were tracking it, you had people on the ground en route before that thing ever crashed. And they're like, well, we don't know where it crashed. And I'm like, you know exactly where it was. You had people on the ground the second that it crashed. I feel like it was very odd timing, and for it to be a national, worldwide subject that never really came from anything, like nothing ever really came out of it.
Well, so I'll follow up real quick. So, one, all depends upon whether, if they were tracking it, if you shoot anything down, you can't really control where it's going to crash at. You can have an idea, because, I mean, you may hit it, it may explode, in the air. I mean, you don't know what's going to do. So,
but you would still have people on the ground en route watching.
Well, it depends upon how fast it's moving too, though.
True, yeah.
So, I gotta give that report more props. Now, the trying to distraction part, we were already in the middle of a big distraction.
Yeah, that's very
Nobody
true.
cared. The only thing people were caring about was what was going on during 2020 and how many people were allegedly dying and how many people were going to die, and that everybody needs to stay locked into their house. And I can't mention the C word because, you get shut down for that. So,
yeah, so do you think it was a case of,
I think it was brought up in the news, and the reason why not a lot of information came out of it, I'll give you another case, for example, that just happened this past December. These 2 Bigfoot researchers go into the woods on Christmas Eve, and they're found 3 days later dead, died to exposure. Yeah. Now, the funny part about that story is and I dug into this, the names have not been released. Still, as of this recording, the names have not been released. Okay, nothing's been put out on socially like, hey, that was my uncle, brother's, nephew's son. Nobody's claiming these people at all. We saw a couple things on Facebook, but we couldn't actually get verification. You know what I mean? Me and Tommy were digging hard into this. Mm-hmm. And the ironic part, though, is the day the 2 bodies were recovered, the search and rescue team's equipment was stolen. And you can look this up, folks. The search and rescue teams was stolen. As the sheriff put out, if it wasn't nailed down, it was taken.
That's crazy.
And there's nothing after that. Nothing.
I have to ask, since you did research on this, are the search and rescue people still alive? Like,
Yeah.
had
No,
they disappeared?
there's nothing. You never heard anything about it. All their equipment was taken. They started a there was a GoFundMe. I don't know if it's still active or not, but there was a GoFundMe to help the search. Help them get their equipment back. I will tell you, the county that this took place in Washington State, does have a law on the books to where it's illegal to harm any mythological creature.
Yeah.
Now, this isn't the same county that says if you kill Bigfoot, you get $1,000 fine. That's a different one. This county states specifically you can serve up to like a year in jail. There's a big fine for if you harm a mythological creature. But these guys drove 150 miles on Christmas Eve to go to the woods to look for Bigfoot, and then they come home. And they weren't reported missing until after midnight, obviously. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and then the official report is they died due to exposure. So, but again, it's a blip on the radar. So they can come out and say, we aired that. We're not trying to hide anything.
Then why get rid of the evidence?
Somebody did, and that's where the story I was tracking. Go, man, that's a horrible story. Until I found out, and it was on the local sheriff's Facebook page for that county of them missing and them finding the bodies, and then of them having somebody break in and steal all their equipment.
That's really odd.
And my brain goes, well, that doesn't add up. That one says conspiracy.
Yeah, that's like a straight up script from an X-Files episode.
Exactly. So let me ask you, so besides the arms being wrapped around you and scaring you, share with everybody the scariest encounter you had, or actually maybe not the scariest, but the one encounter you had on, whether it was as a kid growing up or researching or whatnot, that left the strongest impression on you.
Okay. I have two, actually. If
Share away. Yep, please do.
So one of them didn't actually happen to me. It happened to a fellow investigator while we were at a place. We were at a place down in Coffeyville, Kansas, called the Brown Mansion. Phenomenal place. We had those. So this was back, over 10 years ago. We had the static stationary DVR system camera set up going with the cables and all that kind of stuff. We had one set up in the upstairs floor, which was basically an open gymnasium with rooms around the side of it. And one of our investigators, Nathan, decided, hey, because we were breaking down for the night, he's like, I'm going to go grab the camera. Went by himself without a flashlight, which for me, that wouldn't have happened. I would have had someone with me and a flashlight.
Yeah, I always believe in. So I'm on the firm belief, and I stress this to my team here, is that when we do this, we don't go alone. Now, if I say, hey, go in that room, that's a different story.
That's a different story, yeah, because we were 2 floors below him.
Yeah, but no, we're going to go with the team. You're going to go with at least a battle buddy.
Yeah, exactly. So the entrance to that floor was interesting. You go up a stair set, but the stairs emerge into the room instead of going through a door into the floor. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like the stairs, like you come up into the room, the floor. He gets up there, up on the stairs into the floor, and sees like this 6 to 7 foot black shadow mass in the room with him, and it charged at him.
Whoa.
Hit him in the chest and knocked him 3 or 4 feet back against the wall. So he was freaked out. He grabbed the camera real quick and came down and explained to everybody what was going on. And he had a couple of his ribs popped out of place. You could see them kind of poking a little bit.
Okay, so it wasn't a homeless person?
No. We went up immediately to check. There was no other exits to the floor. We spent 30 minutes up there going through every room, the lights on, everything, and we didn't see a single thing.
Okay.
But he actually had a fist print on his chest. I don't have the photos anymore because they're with another investigator. The second we walked out of the building, the house, to load stuff into the car, we heard this pop.
I'm going to pause you real quick. So before it gets into even further, guys, if you're watching on YouTube, the videos and photos and stuff that Larry's going to send to me, Tommy's going to be showing them. So you are going to be seeing those pop up on YouTube. All right, go ahead, Larry.
Yeah, and I apologize. I don't have the pictures for this anymore.
Oh, no, you're fine. You're fine. But when you mentioned that, I was like, oh, I better tell the audience who's listening to jump over if they want to see it. That's not going to be on YouTube. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's a good call.
Thank you.
We heard that pop, and he went, ugh, and we turned around, and the fist print was gone, and his ribs had like popped back into place the second that he walked out of the building. Now, I don't know if that was just because of movement, carrying stuff, weight load distribution.
It takes a lot to pop the ribs out, and it takes a lot to pop them back in. I mean, you're generally taped up.
Yeah, right. Like,
for quite a while.
I mean, it could be explained away physically, but it was very odd that it was the second that he walked out of down the steps and onto the actual ground that it happened.
Well, any of my audience listening, if you have any experience with this in the medical field, leave a comment about it.
Oh, absolutely. I'd love to know.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
So the next one, we're going to go back into the realm of kids again.
Let's do it, because kids are scary.
So there's a place up in Iowa that Jason's old podcast partner, Josh Hurd, runs, called the Malvern Manor. And I've been there, several dozen times with Jason, because we just go up there, hang out, and get in for free, basically. We were up there one Saturday. I think it was early afternoon, so it was still daylight outside, right? And we're waiting for Josh to get there because we had keys. So we're like, let's go walk around and check things out. And even though it was daylight outside, it was still pretty dang dark inside the building. Well, on the second floor, there's a hallway, and at the end of the hallway is access to the attic. And the stairs to go up to the attic are only 2 feet wide. So, of course, my fat donkey butt would never make it up there. Jason was like, oh, I'm going to go upstairs and check the attic out. And I'm like, well, crap. That means I'm going to have to stay down here by myself. I was like, okay, all right, whatever. So I had my back against the windowed wall at the end of the hallway, staring down the dark hallway with rooms on either side while he went up there. He was literally up there for 2 minutes, and it was like everything decided to come out and play.
Really?
I'm standing there, and the room to my right, which was under the stairwell to the attic, maybe 5 feet from me was the entrance to the door. I hear all this doors opening and closing, closet doors and all sorts of stuff, and I hear little kids giggling, and I'm expecting a little kid, maybe a townie or something, to pop out and go boo. So I freaked out and screamed and was like, Jason, get down here now. And he's like, I just got up here. And I was like, I don't give a crap. Get down here. And I explained what happened. We went into that room and there was nothing there. The doors were all closed. Everything was in perfect condition. I know what I experienced, and it sent a shiver down my spine that I can't get out of my head to this day. Something was in that room physically, but there was nothing in that room. To this day, that place terrifies me, and I have a hard time. That's one place that Jason likes to send me and put me in places by myself with cameras, obviously, to monitor me. And they're usually a room or two away. I will not go anywhere in that place without someone a foot or 2 feet away from me.
Tell you what,
terrifying.
I'll come up there. We'll go in there together.
Okay.
Because I'll be honest with you, these things seem to like me as well. So we'll go in there together, see if they like both of us.
I'm totally down for that. I mean, that experience, like, I've experienced a lot of stuff because I've been doing this for a long time, but it was like something wanted me to know that I wasn't alone.
That's when it's scary.
Yeah.
You know,
'Cause
and a
usually
lot of
you'll
people,
hear,
you
like,
know,
a
the
voice
funny
or
part about it
something.
is everybody watches these TV shows and they get these ideas in their head. And, you know, and I will say, the show that I was making fun of, you know, Did You Touch Me? They do make dramatic fear.
They do.
And, you know, I'm sure it's with the best of intentions of, you know, hey, this isn't something you really want to do all the time. This is, you know, I mean, you know, be careful when you go do this because there are things that can hurt you. You know, so I will give them props on that part. I just think they go over dramatic with it.
Yeah, and usually when you're doing investigations, or I'll say on my behalf, when I'm doing an investigation, you get weird feelings like, hey, you're not alone. Like, something wants you to know that you're there. They're there. You'll hear a noise, or you'll hear knocks, or you'll hear one thing, but to hear the full gambit of running, giggling, things opening, it seemed a little overboard, in my opinion. Like, they really, really wanted me to know that I was somewhere I wasn't supposed to be.
Yeah, and they were using So I'll go back to the kid thing too. They could be using kids to even again lure.
Yeah, and that's kind of how it felt. It felt like it wanted me to go in that room, but there was no way in.
Yeah, see, my problem is I
was
would.
gonna go in that
That's my
room.
problem. Like, oh, you want to get? Yeah. Again, I'm the one that's going to be the first one dead in any horror movie.
Yeah, same here.
You know, I would because I'd be going, we're going to play. Let's go play. You know, but again, as you said though, that feeling of not alone, and when you are doing investigations, and I can testify to this one. From my own investigations, and you actually go into a spot and you know that you are not the only thing in that room. It's unnerving, but you know, in the other side on the flip side of the coin, and I have to play devil's advocate, and I do it with myself all the time. You know, I'll talk about the battlefield that we went out to, right? It was outside, it was at night. You know, we're doing a paranormal investigation stuff, and I'm in the woods at night, so my mind automatically goes to Bigfoot.
Yeah.
So everything to me, you know, when I go into an area to investigate, and I think we talked about this the night before you came down here, with JD and everything. So when I go out and I do an investigation, in the woods, I'm looking, supposed to be having some kind of cryptid thing. That was you knocking, right?
Yeah, I was setting something down.
Okay. So, and the only reason I bring that up, because I've already caught one EVP on an episode. So,
No, that was me.
all right. But, and I did hear something earlier in the show. I wonder if Tom, you hear me talking about it, maybe go back and try and pick it up. But I couldn't
Was
tell.
it a clicking noise?
It was a whisper.
Oh, yeah, no, that wasn't me.
I couldn't tell if it was my echo coming back or not, so that's why I didn't say anything about it. But I do know, so my mind is automatically into the paranormal. If I go into a location that's allegedly haunted, I'm automatically thinking haunted. So my mind's already going to try and generate, a weird noise, like, ooh, that was a ghost, and I have to step out and be like, stop, no, what was that really? Okay, how old's the house? Is there a pipe in here? Turn on the, do something. This going to physically, debunk it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because, it's like you said, when you go expecting to experience something,
You're going to.
That's all you're going to experience.
It's like, if you're watching, one of the favorite quotes out there is, if you never want to feel alone, turn off all the lights and put on a scary movie.
Yeah, that's true.
And so if you have that mindset, if you're watching a lot of these shows too, though, because I tell people, if you are watching all these shows and you think it's really cool, you're in some ways inviting that in. Like, I'll be honest with you, like, before every investigation I go on, I gather my team up, we gather in a circle, we hold hands, we pray, and I pray for us. And then when we're done, I do the same thing. I pray, and I make sure that if there is anything here, whether I had an encounter or we had encounters or not, if there's anything here, it stays here. It's not coming with us. You're not allowed, you know what I mean? And I make sure of that.
It's funny that you mentioned that because my old team, we used to do residential cases all the time, and we stopped doing that because of a different reason. But we got notified from a woman one time. I can't remember where she was from, but she was explaining all of this stuff that was happening to her, like in detail. And Rick, one of the guys on our team, was like, this seems really familiar. So he went back and looked the episode that aired of the popular TV show that week was the exact same activity that she was explaining having happened in her house. So we asked her, it was like, do you watch any of the paranormal shows? And she's like, oh yeah, I love them. I watch them all the time. And we're like, she's manifesting what she saw on that TV show in her house to explain what's going on. She may not have anything going on. So we decided not to go. But I think people get in that mindset when they watch these things that it manifests in their life because they want it to happen so badly.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, I don't watch them. I have watched them in the past. As a big fan of Taps when they were first out, I really was. I liked their approach to things, and so I would watch it to study. I know how they were doing and everything. Got away from it, obviously, to where, the shows that I watch now are documentaries, honestly. They're like, okay, hey, this, we're going to dig into an episode of the Bible. We're going to dig into an episode of, what was this weird Roswell? Or even Strange Hauntings, to be honest with you. I'm going to watch those.
Yeah, that's what I watch too, is documentaries.
And, there was one series out there, and I cut cable out over a year ago, and I used to watch it when it would come on. And it was like Paranormal Con on Camera. And there was some that I was going, that's, I'm really, I have to pride myself to be able to debunk certain things. And there was a couple episodes on there I was watching, I was going, okay, that's creepy. That doesn't fit the narrative. That's, I'm trying to figure out how they do it until, with that rewind button that we have on, we can do it, and then I can back it up and go, what was that? You know what I mean? And try and study it and see what took place with it. And, but I do think you're right. People who do watch a lot of these shows and they're really into them and they want to, if people want to have an experience, an encounter, they're going to manifest it.
Exactly.
And I think to where, I get asked all the time about why these newer homes, these new subdivisions and everything that are being built, the homes have been, around for just a couple of years. Why are they haunted? And then I'm going to go, okay, are the people haunted?
Yep.
Do they have attachments? What kind of shows are they watching? What are they doing?
Yeah. Exactly.
We don't get a chance to see that part of it at all.
No, and they don't usually divulge that information to you unless you ask.
Yeah, and they're not going to.
No.
And I do believe that there's a lot of, and even if you do ask, they're going to kind of beat around the bush about it unless they're really excited about it.
Yeah.
I was in communication with this lady last year, and she really wanted me to bless her house, come and cleanse her house and get rid of this thing. And I was like, that's not what I do. I could, you need a priest, to be honest with you. That's, I don't have that big of an ego to go, yeah, I'll come on down and kick a ghost's ass. No, and I kept, she would send me these audio clips and everything and stuff that she was hearing in the house. And I was like, okay, that's unnerving and creepy. And, I've been out of contact with her for almost a year, and I really hope she got the help that she needed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you feel bad for these people, but in certain instances, there's really nothing you can do. I've been there 100 times. I totally understand that.
Yeah, it's why I do feel bad. Now, if, so that, that's on my paranormal stuff. Now when it comes to cryptid stuff and people are having activity on their property, yeah, I can go out there and I mean, generally it's real easy. If you're having a Sasquatch, he's on their property while I'm gone, put up cameras and spotlights. They ain't coming back. They seem to know that. They're like, nope, so, but I've got a really good spot I'm trying to get into. But like I said, my life just took a really, positive twist. So it's not a bad twist. I mean, my life is going great. And, so trying to get in and check this area out, I'm excited because JD had mentioned, having you guys come down and go on a cryptid hunt with me.
Absolutely.
You know,
I would
because
totally be down for that.
he goes, yeah, man, all we do is like, paranormal. It'd be kind of cool to go on a cryptid one. But y'all have a cryptid one coming up though with a guy.
Yeah, I don't know the full extent of the details. I think we're interviewing him on the 10th. But again, I don't know.
I thought he
I'm
was
just
taking
going
y'all out to
along.
the. I thought he was taking some of y'all out to the woods.
Yeah, it's somewhere near Grain Valley, I think. I can't remember the exact name.
See, that'll be
Um,
fun.
but I don't know when that's happening or anything. I think we're going to talk about it tomorrow night.
Yeah, well, if it's feasible for me to come up and join, I will.
Yeah, I think it's like 40 minutes from us, so it's still probably like 6 hours from you.
I'll be crashing on your couch.
But speaking of going out and doing stuff besides paranormal, is I need to get you coming up here or coming down there to do a sky watching session.
Yeah, let's talk. Let's talk about sky watching. And
Okay.
I'm glad you brought it up because I was trying to lead us into that. And so
Yes.
you did really great on that one. So and what's really neat though is that I don't want I want you to share some of it. Don't go into too much detail because you and Jason do a great job of going into it on your show.
Yeah,
And I listened to the whole entire series.
yeah, it's something that we started doing a couple years ago, and it's just kind of become second nature, kind of like an addiction.
So what? Well, first tell everybody what sky watching is, and then tell them how you got involved in it, and let's talk about it.
So sky watching is where you go out to an area. Ooh, big thunder.
I did not hear that, so you're good.
Yeah, the walls shook and everything. Sky watching is where you go out to an area that has low light pollution visibility, to where you can see the sky clear. So typically away from urbanized areas, we usually go 2 or 3 hours away from the Kansas City area, and you sit out and watch the sky with transponder trackers, so you can see if it's like if you see something weird, you can tell if it's a satellite, what satellite it is, if it's a plane, what plane it is. And you try to see things that you can't explain away. And boy, howdy, we've seen some things that you can't explain away. But it all started about Jason and I like to go out and explore. So we'll go out from 5 p.m. on a Saturday night and get in around 4 or 5 in the morning, and we go travel rural areas, dirt roads and stuff, to see if we can find old cemeteries or whatnot. And usually that's where we end up sitting to skywatch, is an old cemetery out in the middle of nowhere, because usually they don't have hours posted or non-trespassing and that kind of thing, because they're older, they're rural, and people don't bother you. So we go out there, sit down, get all of our equipment out, and just basically sit and watch the sky and hang out and talk. And a couple of the instances that we've had, I really can't put explanation to. If you want me to get into those real quick.
I do.
So one of the first sessions that we ever did, we were down in God, I'm not going to remember the name of it. We were like 2 or 3 hours south of Kansas City on a dirt road out in the middle of nowhere. And we had decided to set up our chairs on the opposite side of the dirt road where my car was, and we sat there. Jason was facing kind of like northeast, and I was facing kind of like northwest. So we were both facing basically the same direction, just a little bit skewed so we could see a different section of the night sky. And we see what looked like satellites, like 5 or 6 of them, come across the sky in like a pattern. And then some of them stopped and some of them just disappeared. Well, one of them that stopped, we were watching and we're like, that's really odd. And all of a sudden, from that tiny speck of light in the sky, a flash appeared that the only way that we can explain it is like a cone of light from that centralized position shot down on our position and lit everything up. like almost like a camera flash for an instant.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it gets even weirder. After that flash, I jumped out of my chair and freaked out because I saw a shadow person standing right next to me.
Whoa, 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 whoa,
It,
whoa.
it gets even weirder.
Hold on. So you're seeing lights in the sky. This light does a flash, and there's a shadow person?
Yeah. And the second I jumped out of my chair, it was gone.
Of course, yeah, it's Peeping Tom.
The second that I jumped out of my chair, Jason's like, I just saw a shadow person run behind your car. And he got up to look to see if there was anybody out there, and there was no one out there. So we have two theories on the situation. Either they were associated with the flash, or whatever was in the sky caused that flash to disrupt those entities from affecting us. Like, it knew what was going on and was like, hey, let's stop this before it happens. We're not sure what it was, but it was definitely odd.
Well, what if... Okay, so, yeah, one, I definitely could see both theories. So, here's one. Right. What if... All right, and just hear me out, because I'm going to go way woo, okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So, the UAP phenomenon and everything, interdimensional beings and stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's use that for basis. Now let's go to some old biblical stuff, all right? The Nephilim and stuff like that. And, old gods, used to travel around in craft and chariots and stuff like that, okay? Mm-hmm. So I'm just summarizing here for the audience and, for both of us. So what if, since the government has come out and said that, yeah, there's UAPs and interdimensional things and stuff like that, they've admitted that there's more than one dimension, which we've already known. What if it was dropping off shadow people?
That's also a possibility.
And so with the flash, it was there, and it took off running because it was like they realized, oh crap, there's somebody there.
Yeah, like it wasn't pinpointed towards us. That was just the location at that time that they decided to drop something off and didn't realize there were already people there.
Yeah,
is that what you're going at?
Yeah, like you were at the right place at the right time, and ta-da!
Yeah,
that's an idea. I'm just throwing it out there. I mean, but then again, too, though, I'll be honest with you, I kind of like the idea that there was something there, and they knew it, and they kind of warned you about it.
Yeah, so it gets even weirder. So fast forward a couple of years, and we're out at another location completely away from the original location, right? One of our friends that likes to go out with us occasionally, his name's Miles, he has macular degeneration, so he's legally blind. He can see like remnants of shadows and stuff and peripherally. But like to look at a computer screen, he has to get literally right up on the computer screen to see it. We were out at this location, and Jason and I were staring up at the sky, and we see another what we think is a satellite, and it stops. So we're paying attention to it, and we experience that same flash mechanism as that original one that we saw. And we looked at each other and we're like, oh, that's weird. And our friend Miles was sitting next to me looking down at the ground, and he's like, what the hell was that? And we're like, what? And he's like, everything lit up for a second. And Jason and I looked at each other and we're like, well, at least now we can say that it did happen because a blind person saw it.
Yeah, that's kind of funny.
It is. But it was the exact same experience. We didn't see any shadow people this time, but it was the same phenomenon. It was almost like a mere, what do you call it? Experience. Like same intensity, same everything. So I don't know if it was light refraction off of a metal object up in space. You wouldn't see your entire surroundings light up. You would just see
it would just get brighter.
Yeah, just like a sparkle.
Yeah, it wouldn't be as... Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've never had, that I know of, a UFO encounter. But yeah, I'm not a retard. I'm not dumb, and so I know the difference. I mean,
And who knows? I
you're gonna
mean,
know.
maybe it was some sort of satellite that was doing, you know,
I don't think they have enough power to reach
imagery
the ground.
with lasers and stuff, like imagery, like lidar or something. I don't
I
know.
don't think we would see it. I think that's like those lasers are in a different light spectrum than what we can see, and I can't think
Yeah,
what it is off the top of my head.
and I feel like if it had been something like that, we would have seen a beam, not a flash.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not going to go. Yeah, that's to me. This has got paranormal cryptid all over it.
Yeah, I mean,
I will say that much. It does have cryptid, and then with the shadow person there as well. And I'm wondering whether you saw the shadow of somebody, or there's actually somebody there, and maybe these things were warning or something. Or I mean, I don't know, but the second one too, though. See,
I mean, you could even throw it into the realm of it could have possibly been a portal opening, and the shadows that we saw were either past remnants or future remnants of our locations as we were out there, and we were seeing into the past or into the future shadows of the footsteps that we had taken that night or were going to take that night. Does that make sense?
yeah, I'm not. To me, it does. Yeah, I mean, because I'm all about portals. I mean, that's like that's a portable portal generator. I try to say that 3 times. You know,
Yeah, that stuff.
I mean, that's crazy. That's
But yeah,
I'll be honest, I've got nothing on that one. What the funny part is when I go back and listen to this, I go, oh, hey, why didn't you say this?
yeah, and I think it would have been held differently experience wise if like it had just been me that saw a shadow person or it had just
Well,
been
let me ask.
Jason.
Okay, so any
But
missing
multiple
time from that
people.
night? Was there any? Did y'all have any missing time or anything?
Of course you would ask that.
Yeah.
We don't remember because we weren't paying attention, but yeah, there absolutely could have been a 10-15 minute time disparity. There's no telling, but since we weren't actively
Paying attention to your
attention
time.
to that.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
you're more looking at the sky than you were your phone. Smart. I like that.
Yeah, because I mean, when you think about it, if you're out doing that, all night long, a time like you're not gonna physically notice a difference between 5 and 15 minutes missing, because in that short amount of time, the stars wouldn't have shifted far enough for you to ascertain that there had been something going on.
That's a good observation.
Like, yeah, if we had seen that and experienced that and then looked up and like everything had been shifted like 5 degrees or 10 degrees as the earth was rotating, we could have said, we just lost like 30-45 minutes, like what's going on.
Yeah,
But-
that makes yeah, I'll be honest with you, that's a excellent observation right there. That's why I throw the missing time in there, and so I had to throw the question out there. But so let's just go with no. So no missing time.
Yeah, that we know of.
I'm gonna go with no. You guys would, what you
I
would
could have been pro. Who knows?
Even an hour, things shift. You know what I mean?
Yeah. If
And-
you're not actively
Watching the sky.
taking that into account, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you're gonna know. Hey, that star was right there in the horizon. Now it's gone. That kind of thing.
Yep.
So, no missing time. Flash of light. Crazy shadow thing. He sees it run. Was it kind of a blinding light? Like, I mean, did you lose your night sight?
Oh yeah, it looked like for a split second, the entire everything around us was bright white, like a camera flash, like everything, almost like a cone of light had come down around us.
It's like fire in the sky stuff.
Yeah. Oh god, that movie's terrifying.
Yeah, that movie horrified me.
Yeah. When I saw that as a kid, it frightened the heck out of me.
I saw it before I joined the Army, and the girl that I took on the date to go see it, she'd already seen it. And as we left the movie theater, it was nighttime, and of course, I'm glued to the windshield, not watching where I'm driving, You know, I'm staring at the sky.
Like,
She was
up in
laughing
the
at
sky.
me. She was like, I told you it was weird. It's like, weird. That thing's creepy.
Yeah.
You know, so I think I was in the Army. I think I was in, I can't remember what year it came out. Either 93 or 94. So I joined the Army in 93. But yeah, I remember leaving and staring out the windshield, like freaked out. But
And who knows? Maybe they're tracking one of us, keeping tabs on us or something that we're not aware of. I mean, that could be the possibility of why I see things in my apartment. Who knows?
yeah, we could do a whole episode on that one. JD was telling me a little bit about that stuff.
Yeah,
You know,
it's pretty
well,
nuts.
do you think that you're haunted maybe since you've had a whole life of experiences of this stuff?
Yeah, I do. I think that
I don't mean like you're haunted. Do you think you maybe have an attachment?
I don't know if it's an attachment or I think that I attract things because they know that I can feel and hear them and see them. Um, because it's hard to explain. Like, I have a video clip of this instance that I can send you.
Please do.
We were at a place up in Iowa called the Farrar School, and one of the rooms on the third floor was supposedly one of the most haunted places. And there were four of us in the room, and they decided to do one of those god awful spirit box sessions, which I absolutely hate.
Yes.
Because all you hear is it sucks. But the whole time they're doing it, I keep hearing voices sounded like a woman behind me. And so every time it happens, I'm like, "Hey, did you guys hear that?" And they're like, "No, what?" And I'm like, "A woman. I just heard a noise." And they're like, "No, no one heard anything." It happened like 3 or 4 times, and finally they were like, "You're ruining the experiment. You're talking and all this stuff." So they stopped. And I was like, "You know what? Screw you guys. I'm getting the voice recorder." I stopped it, listened back to it, and it's even on the video. Every time that I say I heard something, you hear a woman talking. And I relate that not necessarily to my capability of being able to hear things more than people, but to a theory that we devised on the whole situation called the blanker theory. So, and I know we've been kind of going a long time.
You're fine. What's a blanker theory?
So, everybody has brainwave frequency outputs that they're emitting from their brain at any given time. So, like anger, fear, love, your brain's emitting a different frequency based on your emotional state at a certain point. Have you ever been stopped at a stoplight and you're turning left and you have your blinker on and someone's across the way and they're turning left with their blinker on and you can see it, and for a split second the blinkers mesh and then they get off track again?
Yeah.
What if you're in a place and the brainwave frequency that you're outputting at a certain point in time is the exact match for the ambient frequency in the area? Would that allow someone to experience something out of this world, paranormal wise? Allow them to witness other dimensional activity? I've always been wanting to test this in like a laboratory setting, but that type of equipment is beyond my pay grade. But it really makes you think that if that is possible, that could explain a lot of paranormal activity that's happening across this world.
That's a really cool theory.
And who knows? It could all be bollocks.
Well,
You know?
I mean, well, here's the thing too, though, and I don't have all the answers. Yeah, I don't think I have any answers. I have theories. When I get asked questions, I go, well, my theory is, or, a theory that I've heard that I agree with, and, you have to be open to new theories, new experiments, and by doing I'm doing the podcast, and the reason why is because I want answers, and I know that the more encounters I hear, the more people open up and tell stories, their stories, their encounters, what they've experienced, what they've seen, what they felt. We're going to start kind of putting together, a little bit more pieces of this giant puzzle that we have.
Absolutely.
And the sad part about it is because, our genre and our field is kind of a joke. And let's be honest, it is. It was also filled with a lot of really smart people and a lot of open-minded people. And about 99% of us have actually had an encounter with something.
Yeah.
And it's, to where I can't say, because, and I am, I'll say right off the bat, I am Christian, first and foremost. I'm a firm believer in God and the Bible and stuff. And obviously I've been saying the prayers and all that good stuff. But, just because, it may not be absolutely into the Bible doesn't mean that there isn't something that's missing from it. And some aspect, like one of my theories that I have is that there was a world before Adam, that there was other beings, things like that were here before Adam. And Adam created, God created Adam in his image. And then he gave him Eve and stuff. And, and there's some biblical texts that hint at that. And I think that there's a lot of hinting that goes on into the biblical text. So I don't have all the answers. And I know that the more that we do this and we theorize, and then we test the theories. I don't think that tree knocks are what we think they are. I don't think Bigfoot's out there with a baseball bat beating on trees with a stick.
Yeah,
I don't think he's doing that.
I agree with that 1,000%.
And so I don't do tree knocks when I go out there at all. And, if you start knocking on a tree, I'm going to go, why? I mean, and then everybody's like, oh, we need a camouflage to be sneaky. Why? Most of your Bigfoot encounters happen with people who are just walking along, minding their own business, or they're in their camp and they're having some drinks, they got a fire going, they're playing some music, they're visiting, they're laughing. That's generally where you have a lot of these encounters. When I go to my on my next investigation, I'm going to do that. It's going to be an overnight one, and I'm going to set a fire up, and I'm going to have some music playing, and I'm going to open up some alcoholic beverages so that way its smell is out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I totally get that.
So that way, if something is there, it's going to smell, but we're just kind of sitting there kind of, and laughing and cracking jokes, obviously drinking water. Because, I want to make sure that we're sharp in case somebody comes walking up on us. So,
I think at that point, I don't think sharpness is really going to help.
Well, no. I mean, of course, me, again, it's like, I go charging after it. That would be me. And again, it has been me. I have charged after something into the woods. And when I go on your show, I'll talk about, on y'all show, I'm going to talk about the AHA encounter of where, this thing did throw a big rock at me and stepped on a log behind me, and I went running into the woods after it.
It's like I've asked JD, I've asked a lot of people this question. I think I even asked you that if you're out in the woods hiking or doing something, and even an investigation for Bigfoot, and you hear a little kid say, "Hey, help me," I'm not going to go towards it.
It all depends upon the location.
I still think it's a trap.
Well, again, I'm going to go with location. One, I'm agreeing with you. I am. But I'm also going to go with location. So if I'm out in the middle of nowhere and I'm hearing a little kid say, "Hey, help me," I'm going to yell back, "Who are you?" That kind of thing. And if I don't start getting names, then we got a problem. But, if he goes, "Hey, my name is John Smith, and I want my mommy, and help me, I'm scared," I'm like, "What's your name?"
Yeah, that's
I'm Johnny.
Story.
You know what I mean?
I do agree with that. Yeah, that's a completely different animal.
Yeah, if it's having a conversation with me, then I'm going to go with, "All right, you're real. Let's go help this kid out." But kids, again, just you hear kid voices at night when they're not supposed to be kid voices. It's creepy and unnerving. I will say that.
I agree.
I mean, it's and hearing one too in the middle of the night, and that there's no kids, and you're like, "I'm sorry, what?" No, not at all. I want nothing to do with this now. And no, but you're right. I don't know. I mean, because I'd hate for there to be a kid, you know what I mean, and I'd feel horrible, and I don't know. It's I guess the military in me. It's I like to help people, and I'd probably be like going, "I'm coming, little Johnny," you know.
See, my thing is, my first thought is, why in the heck are you out here, kid?
There's lots of kids go missing in the woods. I mean, that's why I was like going,
True.
where are we? What's going on? You know, what's that? So to me, there's a lot of variables that come into that question. It's like, okay, are we, are we kind of near an urban area? You know what I mean?
And they explained it to me that I have my perception on that experience because I don't have kids. They're like, once you have kids, your whole mind thought on that situation changes.
It does.
And I'm like, yeah, I can totally understand that.
Well, they're right. It does. Your mindset once you have kids, and it does change it to where you're like, I'm a dad.
Because it could be your kid. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And I would, I would hate to beat somebody up for not helping my kid out because they were scared. But again, too, though, I would also understand why they were scared. Based upon what we do.
True.
But, yeah, I don't. That's a tough one. Again, there's a lot of variables for me that would have to come into play.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So let me ask you a question then. So and I'll bring it in for a landing after this question. So with all your investigations, with everything, the sky watching, everything that you've been doing, what do you think ghosts are? What's your opinion? What is a ghost?
Whew. Tough one.
Now, there's no right or wrong answer, obviously. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just wanted, because I want to know what you think, because I don't know. I mean, I have a theory, but I want to hear yours.
I would personally say my perception of what a ghost is not the textbook definition of a ghost.
Okay, now we're talking about a ghost. We're not talking about shadow people. We're not talking about demonic things. We're not talking about, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would personally accredit them to some other type of entity existing that we can't comprehend, that we attach a stigma to that makes us feel better. So I don't think that it's possibly a dead person that can't move on. I feel like that is a cruel experience for anybody to have to deal with, and I don't think that something would allow another organism to experience that kind of pain or existence. Does that make sense?
It does. And in a lot of ways, I'm in agreement with you on that one. That's why I brought the kid thing earlier. I don't think that the ghost that we're perceiving as, our grandma or aunt, I do think that we can maybe get a visit from them, but I don't think they're haunting our house.
Exactly. Now, I say that, and people are gonna pick it apart.
Well, that's fine. I mean, yeah, everybody has their opinion, which is fine. Because my opinion on ghosts, in all honesty, since you shared yours, I'm going to share mine. I'll let you get back to your point in just a second. My theory on ghosts is that, very similar to yours, there's something to it, but it's not a dead relative.
Yes, I agree. And when I'll preface that with, when I'm talking about my definition of what I think a ghost is, I'm talking about what's the term they use for it? Intelligent haunting.
There you go. Okay.
So when you talk about like residual or people seeing something walk through a wall or something, I think that energy can be displaced and you're seeing remnants of something or someone that has lived that's breaking through, and we're seeing that residual leftover. But as far as like when people come into communication with ghosts or they interact with them, I don't think I'm with you. I don't think that's dead Grammy. I think that's something else that
No,
we can't.
100%. And to be honest with you, to where I think that, people who have, positive experiences with dead relatives, because there's a lot of positive ghost stories out there. I
Yeah.
know that it was my grandpa, that was my grandma, that was my aunt, that was my uncle, that was, my husband, that was my wife. I think in those cases right there, that could be, some divine intervention, and to make us understand it better, we make it our passed on loved one.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm in
And
total agreement.
yeah, and with the residuals, 100%. I do think that certain areas, certain things can trap energy, and because we are energy, people are energy. Battlefields, obviously, horrible crimes, and those even some other ones, weddings, right?
Yeah.
The birth of a child, happiness. It puts off a lot of energy as well. So if you have a happy home and a home is happy, you're going to catch some of that residual, I do believe, inside of that home. And to where you may hear a laugh, and it's, and you may see somebody walk through a wall or turn around the corner, and that's just that moment in time for whatever was happening, good or bad, was good or bad enough to leave behind some residual energy, and it just replays itself over and over again. You
Yep,
can't
I agree.
you can't interact with it. You can't stop it. It's just there.
Yep. I absolutely agree with you on that.
All right, poltergeist.
That's a different one too.
See, for me, this is
would-
fun because I love cryptids. I love breaking into cryptids. I want to discuss cryptids all day long. But when I get a chance to do, really dig into some of the paranormal classifications, I should say. You know what I mean?
I look at poltergeist phenomenon as not necessarily an entity per se, and we had a discussion about this on one of our episodes, and honestly I can't remember what I said, but I feel that there's a realm of things that we can't explain because we're so complex as an organism that we can manifest things. Have you ever heard the term tulpa?
I have. Explain for everybody else.
A tulpa is when something is thought about enough by enough people that it manifests into reality. So if you have 10 people in a room saying that we're going to get a voice on an EVP and they all believe that adamantly, you could possibly get a voice on EVP just from the thought process of all those people cognitively thinking about it enough.
See, that's how I feel about Slender Man.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think Slender Man is now a real cryptid, and I think it was manifested in through creepypasta. Because enough enough energy came through, the internet being a source of energy, and enough energy and a lot of stuff came through, and that's why we have Slender Man now.
Yeah. And I think that's how you have to look at poltergeist activity. And like you said, the only answers I have are death and taxes are real. I don't have any say. Like I can't say, aliens are real. Like, we don't know if they're real or not.
Well, the government said they are.
Yeah, well, that makes me really double think everything. We actually had a guy on our podcast. I haven't released it yet. His name's Matt, and we were talking about that. And he's like, I used to believe in aliens and UFOs, and then the government started coming out and talking about them and saying, hey, these are real. He's like, I really don't think they're real anymore.
Yeah, and I get that, but the thing about it is the whistleblowers and everything that came forward and what's going on, and they're like, oh, I can only talk about that and behind closed doors. I do think that there's something to it. The government is finally coming out saying, hey, all right, we're going to do slow disclosures, slowly bring it out. And, and they're doing great. I mean, the funny part about it is, too, though, is that the one government agency that I figured that would be talking the most about it have been silent, and that's the U.S. Air Force.
Yeah, right.
The
I agree.
The Navy's going. Screw y'all! Look, we got weird shit going on. You know.
Yeah, my dad was a pilot. I mean, he worked for the FAA. He totally believes it because he's witnessed all this stuff firsthand. He's like, you get up there and you see things, but it's a stigma that you don't talk about it because you don't want to look crazy or lose your job or anything like that.
Yep, I got a buddy of mine. He is a pilot. Can't mention his name. He came on the show. We used the fake name for him, and he, there's a chat group for the pilots, and they were all witnessing at different locations and flying in the country at the same area these strange lights one night. And of course, there's no report or anything about it or anything that was taking place, yada yada yada. But yeah, I totally believe that. But but anyways, go back to the poltergeist thing. So my opinion of poltergeist is a little bit different.
Okay.
So my theory on a poltergeist is actually some sort of entity, and it's either attached to a person or it's attached to a location or an object. I do believe that can happen.
Oh yeah, I totally believe that.
I've got Dylan who did the website for us and everything, and his mom's got this China hutch thing, and whatever is that's where I want to take you guys to do an investigation. By the way, is on this China hutch, and because the activity is ramping up. By the way, me and Dylan trying to get a time set up where I can get him back on the show to do a part 2. To update everybody on the activities going on at his house and his dad's house. And the 2 houses now, which are in 2 different towns, seem to be having the same activity. So there's something going on. That I don't understand it. But, I do think that with the poltergeist, I do think it's in some ways malicious. There seems to be a little bit more physical contact that takes place with it,
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. And then let's cover the last one. Let's go with demonic. What are your thoughts on demonic hauntings?
All right.
I will tell you, I don't believe every haunting is demonic.
I believe that they exist, but I believe the frequency is more like 1 in a million.
I agree.
It's like you said, a lot of shows and a lot of people experience something, and the first thing that they think of is, oh, I got a demon. It's demonic. When you really dig into demonic cases and occurrences, 99% of them, I think, could be explained away as something else going on that we don't understand. A true demonic experience is so rare and so hurtful that it's like winning the lottery in a bad way. That's my opinion on demonic occurrences.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think maybe I know they're there.
Yeah.
I don't think that they're as common as everybody makes them out to be. Because if you watch, all these shows, everything's demonic. And I really think that a demonic haunting is probably one of the most dangerous paranormal hauntings there are out there. I'm grateful that I've never encountered one at all. In my haunted houses I've lived in, everything I've lived in, never. I've had poltergeists, but nothing ever demonic, and I'm grateful for the fact that that's never happened. But I think the numbers are so far and few between. I really do. And and I do think that, the reason why we have so many hauntings now is due to the fact of the matter that people are manifesting them.
Well, that, and not only that, but the insurgence of knowledge at your fingertips, I believe, has increased phenomenon in belief faster than anything in history. Because, you can get on your phone. Like, growing up as a kid in the 80s, I would have never imagined that we would have supercomputers at our fingertips. Like,
No.
Right?
No,
But you can get on
when I
there.
was in school, I was told I would never carry a calculator with me
Yeah, right.
because it was unheard of.
So I think that the increase in knowledge has caused, like you said, an influx in thoughts and beliefs which have propagated experiences.
No, I agree 100%, and I do think that that's what's going on out there. And so my advice to people is, one, if you enjoy the shows, enjoy them, have fun with them, and take
Yeah,
them
it's
with a grain of
entertainment.
salt. Yeah, use it for a lot of entertainment and everything. My little girl's mom, when me and her were together, we used to laugh at that show all the time. We really would. I mean, we'd watch it just for the entertainment value.
Yeah, to me, it's like watching a B-rated horror movie.
Yes, exactly. And he comes, they come across that way, and I'm sure they're nice, super nice guys. I'm sure they are. I've got nothing. I would love to interview them. I would love to get them on the show. So if anybody knows them, send them a message. I love to talk to them. But the thing is, I'm start bringing it for a landing now because we're going on almost 2 hours. And
Yeah, I know, right?
yeah, so everybody, if you're still listening, I'm thankful for continuing to listen to the show. I appreciate it. But watch the shows, have fun with it, and if you do decide to go out and you do want to become a paranormal investigator, if you want to do anything like that at all, first off, stay away from what you're trying to research because there's a lot of shows out there and everything. For my Patreon members, though, I do have a level to where you can get a chance to go on investigations with us, and we can take you to places where it's going to, you'll be okay. And you may or may not have an encounter. You just can't make these things pop up, whether it be a cryptid or paranormal one. But, and I have no problem because, love hearing everybody's theories. But Larry, man, I had a blast.
Yeah, I have too. Do you mind if I say something real quick about that?
Please
whole
do.
thing?
Please do.
I want to say from the bottom of my heart that if people are wanting to go out and find a place that is haunted or somewhere that they could go to, or just research and find stories, the one person or the one group of people that aren't necessarily looked at enough for paranormal stories and experiences, go talk to cops. It sounds weird, but most of them are willing to talk to you, and most of them have had experiences because they've been on those calls.
And I can't get them on the show. I've got friends who are cops, and they've got stories, and they won't come on and talk about it. Yep.
So don't be afraid to go talk to them, because a lot of the times they'll share their insights, and I think their insights honestly hold more credibility and validation than a random person on the street. I just wanted to throw that out there.
I like it. No, I like it. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I'll listen to anybody, but I do like talking to cops. I have a soft spot in my heart for cops, and military and veterans, and first responders. I do. All these branches all these people are trained to pay attention to detail, situational awareness, what's going on around in your environment, situation, the whole 9 yards, and they're very credible if you're looking for those stories. I agree. But, on that note, too, though, if you've had an encounter and you want to talk about it, email me, drunkencryptids@gmail.com. I'll get you on the show.
Absolutely.
And if you're on TikTok, because I know that Chumming with the Spirits has a great TikTok going on. Y'all do a live show on Thursdays, and what other day?
Just Thursdays going forward.
Just Thursdays going forward?
We're using Mondays as a tech collaboration where Jeremy and I get together and we discuss things like video editing and that kind of thing to make ourselves better.
I get it. Yeah. Well, I will. I jumped on one with you guys. I won't. I have an interview scheduled because we're recording this on a Wednesday, so I won't be able to do it tomorrow. But next Thursday, I may be able to jump on for a few minutes or whatnot. I'll have my kiddos with me, so
absolutely.
And I'll just be getting back from the Crescent Hotel.
That's one place I haven't been that I would like to go.
That's where I'm
Just
going.
for-
So be ready for some pictures then.
Sweet. And
So-
be ready for some pictures from this weekend.
I can't wait. I can't wait. Larry, my friend, thank you, brother, for coming on. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to future collaborations. I want to have you back on for another episode if you're down for it down the road.
Absolutely. And I'll get those videos and pictures and audio sent over to you here tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, you can either email them to us or get with Tommy, and we can link it through the drive in case they're too big. And I'll let Tommy know that you're going to be doing it.
Sounds good.
I mean, he might be going to sleep now. He's an early bird, and I love Tommy. I would not be where I'm at right now. Special shout out to you, Tommy. You know I love you. So, and but yeah, Larry, thank you so very much. So with that, folks, I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you again for listening to another episode of the Drunken Cryptids. We do have the Patreon available. Check it out in the show description. We also will be doing more expeditions once my life settles down here in the next couple of months. And if you've had an encounter and you want to come on the show, reach out. Email me, drunkencryptids@gmail.com. Follow me on all your social media platforms. Thank you for liking and sharing. I appreciate it. Make sure you go check out my friends over there, Chumming with the Spirits. Great show. Check out also Myths, Monsters, and Mullets over there with John, Nevermore Hollows. And I love shouting out my friends on other podcasts. So again, Cryptids of the Corn, Justin and Jay, great guys. Eric from Uncomfortable. You've got Rye down there at Codex of Curiosities. And Brandon with Tinfoil Tales. There's 2 different Tinfoil Tales. Make sure you get the Brandon one. So until next time, everybody. Y'all stay safe out there.
I can do anything that I want. I can do anything.